if I just said, here's the plan.
Yeah.
I'm going to take about a year out of work, and then I'm going to start doing comedy as the Unemployed Alcoholic. And then there's going to be a global pandemic, which is going to shut everything down. And then from there, I'm going to go into the metaverse and build a cartoon comedy club in a pretend land and start to do comedy.
Hey, welcome back. Today we have Aaron Sorrels, the Unemployed Alcoholic and world creator of the Soapstone Comedy Club in Meta Horizon Worlds. Welcome, Aaron. Longtime friend. Tell us what's Meta Horizon Worlds and what is the Soapstone? Because I know it's a pretty big deal, but not everybody is aware of the metaverse.
Yeah, it is the metaverse.
Yeah.
You know, that's the big exciting thing right now is virtual reality. Of course, Meta, which used to be known as Facebook,
Yep.
Rebranded their whole company as Meta and really took on the lead position in creating the metaverse. Their cornerstone app, which is how they bring people into the metaverse, is called Meta Horizon Worlds. And one of the cornerstone worlds in that is the Soapstone Comedy Club, which
Cool.
Me and a whole team of talented people created.
Yeah. So how long's that been rolling?
So about 2.5 years now.
Okay.
And we started off with a bang. Pretty much, I got in on the beta of Meta Horizon Worlds, and we launched that world right as it became open to the public. So it was fortuitous timing, and we were doing some cool things, and that kind of jump started this momentum, and some really incredible things have happened since.
Cool. I remember at one point you were like one of the top most visited sites or locations there. I don't know where all that stuff stands, but you've gone through a few iterations. What actually happens there? So it's a comedy club. Like we're going in and sitting at high top tables and having beverages and watching comedians, or is this something else?
Yeah, what happens there is a lot of different things. Like our top tier experience, we've got celebrity comedians that will come in and perform. Jay Farrow is coming up, Pete Holmes, and Natasha Leggero, and many others. We about once a month we're bringing in a celebrity comedian to perform, and those experiences, they're what I call omnipresent experiences. So it doesn't matter how many people are in the Soapstone, everybody can experience that. So the way worlds work is there's a capacity of the number of people that can be there, and once you exceed that capacity, it opens up another version of that same world. A lot of people refer to it as instances or lobbies.
Okay.
So Pete Holmes, he's going to be in all places at once, or omnipresent, if you will. So that's kind of our top tier experience. We also are really, really excited because we've got big screen experiences where we're actually producing video specials in virtual reality of nationally touring headliner comedians, and about twice a month we're having people come in where we're recording these specials, and then we're replaying those every Thursday in the Soapstone Comedy Club. And then we over 50 events per month. We produce live events, and we have a team of marquee hosts that spearhead each of those events. And those are live per instance events where people can come in and experience that. And then the most popular thing that we do, or the most easily accessible even, is we do an everyday open mic. So anybody can come into the Soapstone, get on the same stage as these other folks, and do their thing.
Okay. Very cool. Now, I know there's a lot of people, like I'm probably more familiar than many, but not as familiar as you. I think there's a lot of people that just haven't even scratched the surface of what the metaverse is and how to interact. So how does somebody actually access all of this?
Yeah, and you know, that's it's funny because describing the metaverse, just doesn't work.
No.
I heard a quote where somebody said, trying to describe virtual reality is like trying to explain architecture by dancing. Like it just,
Yeah, how do we get in there? That's like, how do I get in? Is there like a
Exactly.
portal that opens up or?
There are portals, but
Yeah.
so it's one of those things that you have to experience to understand. It'd be like trying to listen to the radio to find out what TV is. You can't see, or you can't understand something that's immersive unless you immerse yourself in it. Now you can get a taste of it like through soapstonecomedy.com.
Yep.
That's our website. We have a link there where people can actually visit the Soapstone Comedy Club. Granted, it's just on a two-dimensional screen. It's on their mobile or or via their browser. But it is a way to get a taste for it, to see what's actually happening in there.
Sure.
And then obviously once you put a headset on, that's when you are immersed in the environment, and you feel like you're walking around in a comedy club and meeting people.
Yeah. So I've actually been in there, not super recently, and again, the headset's kind of where I was going. That's the old school, but
Nice.
much newer now. But it is pretty interesting. It's weird. It's kind of a strange feeling. You do feel like you're part of certainly a 3D environment. You kind of wander around and see people. There's little things you can do to kind of interact with each other. So really interesting. But the VR headset's pretty much required to interact right now with some 2D experiences to kind of give you a taste test.
Yep.
All right. So let's kind of rewind a little bit. Now, where did all this get started? Like, let's tell us your origin story. Where's little Aaron, if you're ever little?
Well, my mom and dad met. And no,
I actually heard that from one of my guests. So
yeah,
it's okay. You can say that.
No, I mean, it's interesting because, at some point in all of our lives, we reach an opportunity that we're perfectly prepared for. And it is really the culmination of all of these things. I mean, from childhood, growing up as a pastor's kid and going to high school and middle school in a small town, to college where you and I met.
Yeah.
And we first kind of together discovered strategic planning.
Yeah.
And the idea of an entrepreneurial mindset and stuff. And then going from there into the workforce and experiencing marketing and customer service and leadership and different roles like that, to going back to school, getting an MBA and all that. Each of those experiences played a huge role in what I would say is preparing me for this, which is the most exciting opportunity I've ever been a part of, and certainly the most exciting team and community that I've been a part of.
Yeah. Why don't we, if you're game, why don't we go back, maybe start where we met?
Sure.
College again, kind of like revisit that as we were conquering the world. Planning out all our strategy at like 2:30 a.m. On a Thursday night, maybe, or Friday night.
That's right.
Back in the day, we kind of left college, and then you went on to do quite a few things. And I think part of this is that you've done so many things, and I think there's probably lessons that you've taken from each of those. And we don't have to go here, but if it makes sense, can we maybe revisit like each of those careers or personal developments over that time? I mean, you got married while I was in college, which is pretty, young for most of us at that time. You had a little one that was this big and this many back in the day. And it's just, I don't know, take us back there if you don't mind.
Yeah. So you're right. My now wife and we met very early. In fact, we met when we were in middle school. We weren't betrothed or anything, but we met and started dating and got together in high school. Got engaged right after high school, and were married the summer of our freshman year in college. And that's unusual, but snatched her up quick before she realized how great she was.
Exactly.
And we're still together now. Been married 30 years.
Awesome.
Actually, we're about to celebrate our 30th year anniversary. So congratulations
and good work. I always tell people good work because successful marriages work.
yeah, and just a successful marriage, like a successful life, it's not it's not a straight
Right.
linear advancement. You know, there's rocky times, there's good times, and it takes both to make a strong, healthy marriage. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but yeah, and college was a different experience because we were married and had a family. You know, high school, it was really a very rebellious time in my life, and not really doing much anything of purpose. And then to get married, get in college, it was time to start getting serious, and that's where your and I's conversation got so great because we were future focused. We were thinking about, wow, how do we build something?
Yeah.
How do we create value? And yeah, that made for some interesting conversations on docks of Chippewa Lake, and just sitting there, just talking about, wow, what is this about, and how are we gonna do things? Like A&E printing, I think, was a
Yes.
initial
Right.
little brainstorm that let's take the printing world by storm. And
Own the whole supply chain.
that's
and-
right. Yeah. And just thinking about different pieces. And obviously we never did that.
Right.
But and a good thing too, 'cause
Yeah.
that's not a booming industry
Anymore.
nowadays. But that practice of thinking about something and thinking about how value can be created through it, and thinking about how to add value to those around us, like that was essential to lay the groundwork for both of our successes later.
Yeah. It was a pivotal time for me as well. Like our friendships, like a lot of things, we've had times where we've been closer and farther apart, but it really was a pivotal part in my life because it sort of became, I had somebody I could talk to about these things. We can kind of bounce ideas and thoughts off each other. Somebody that was always creative, a little funny, and a little bit. And it's been it was sort of like an anchor and sort of a starting spot for my life. So,
Yeah.
where like my adult life, I guess I'd say, because I came from a small town and like Fair State University printing program became sort of that launching point for the rest. So, what did you learn about like being married early? Like what kind of lessons came out of that? What challenges? I mean,
Well, we started our life early. We had kids very, very early. And I tell people, you can choose to have kids early or have kids late. Just don't do both.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how people do it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, my wife and I, we know each other very, very well. We're the best of friends. We're romantically attracted to each other. And again, we know each other. Like there's just a look can communicate way too much sometimes. But yeah, it's that's spending time with a significant other is an important piece of that. And the longer you've been together, the more time you've spent
Yeah,
together.
for sure.
Hopefully,
Getting reps
if it's
in.
working right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's during that collegiate time. I'd say, that was a big time of dreaming because everything was future focused, everything was preparation, and there are a lot of dreams, and that was a good time. And then I would say that going into the career after college, really that whole next section of life, I'd say would really be most categorized with discontentment.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't real happy, and there was a lot of reasons for that. But I really struggled with a spirit of discontentment. I wasn't fulfilled with what I was doing. I wasn't enjoying it. It was just kind of a rough time, and that led to a lot of transition. Where I would work someplace and then be discontent and end up another place. Later on in life, determined some root causes for some of that. Alcoholism was a big contributing factor there. It was both something I was turning to in a self-medicating standpoint, but also it was causing a lot of it. And there were some mental health struggles along with there as well that when I came to terms with that and sought counseling and also medical attention, that changed how I was experiencing life so dramatically and such a radical improvement. It's amazing. So and even that, even in a season of discontentment, there were pockets of value. There were things that I learned and experienced that I couldn't have experienced otherwise. So even a season of discontentment, even a season of depression, even a season of alcohol abuse, that can there can be great things that come out of it.
Yeah. Anything you can kind of name? Put you on the spot here a little bit, but I know there's tons of them we can talk privately. We talk privately about, but
Yeah. One is
yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have that sound effect on the board.
No, we don't. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as far as what I would say it would be a primary thing that I took out of that is the value of contentment.
Yeah. Sure. I mean,
I really think that contentment, and actually during COVID, I put together a short video on contentment theory.
I loved your videos, by the way. I missed those actually.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Focus is an important thing. And I really try to focus my energies and efforts, but I did like creating videos and we'll do some more of that at some point. Yeah. But during COVID, I created a video called Contentment Theory. And it really compares and contrasts the environment that you set for yourself when you're in a place of contentment versus discontentment. So I guess that would be probably the biggest thing, the biggest single focal point thing that I got out of that period of time was understanding the dynamics of discontentment and contentment and the value of contentment.
Yeah, I think, relating to that, like some of our conversations in college led to me, changing my life in a way where I became more content. More accepting of myself, through faith. It just became a big life-changing event there. And once you can kind of unburden yourself of that and feel content with what you have and who you are, to me, that was something that, you planted some of those early seeds there, and I'd always appreciate that. But it's easy
ironic
to forget
that those seeds could be planted during a season of discontentment for myself.
Right.
That's interesting.
I think that's, I don't know if you call it yin and yang or whatever terms you have for these things. Quite often, all of that stuff is still there. We don't always do what we know we should. And so we still make, bad decisions sometimes. And sometimes when, I don't know, it's just life, I guess.
Yeah. And it's a long game.
Yeah.
It's a long process. Yeah.
Just like that marriage thing and the life thing. I mean, there's all kinds of ups and downs. And I think, as long as we keep growing and building on those new lessons we get.
Sure. Especially the difficult times, the hard times. I mean, everything that like the Soapstone, the Soapstone Comedy Club, which again is the most exciting thing that I've ever been a part of because of the community that's involved, because of the potential of what's happening, because of what we're doing currently. This is just it's like going to the moon. It's just amazing and exciting. And that absolutely would not be possible without hardship. Yeah. The fact is, I left a good grown-up job to address alcoholism, and that led to a season of unemployment and addiction recovery, and then from there, I found comedy.
So yeah, let's get into that a little bit more because we opened with the unemployed alcoholic. You're known as the unemployed alcoholic, which is an interesting origin. Why don't you tell us about the origin of that guy?
Sure, sure. Yeah, it got to a point where I knew that I needed to address alcoholism. Health was fading, relationships. I mentioned the importance of the relationship with my wife. Relationships were struggling professionally. I was struggling. It's alcoholism and alcohol abuse will always take its toll. And unfortunately, it's a very, very controlling thing. And it's a rarity that that people are able to address it and make the lifestyle changes necessary to overcome it. It's but it came to the point where I knew that if I didn't address it, ultimately I'd end up losing everything of value. Um, and so I did. I left a good grown-up job. I say a grown-up job because I certainly don't have a
Yeah.
grown-up job now, but left a good job and got involved in a good church, a good recovery program, and started rebuilding who I was, my identity, and that was so valuable and good. I mean, the lessons that I learned during taking a season to recover are far more valuable than anything that I learned through any entrepreneurial venture that I've done in the past or any the MBA that I went through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the mindset and the focus of a 12-step program. In as far as creating value for those around you, it's incredibly valuable. It's great. So I left that job to address alcoholism and go through a recovery process. I thought that might take a couple weeks and then I'd get back to work. Yeah. It's not how it happened.
You told Renee.
It's funny at that point, if I were to have laid out, if somehow I had a vision of what the future would hold and I laid that out, she'd have said, no. Like if I just said, here's the plan.
Yeah.
I'm going to take about a year out of work and then I'm going to start doing comedy as the unemployed alcoholic. And then there's going to be a global pandemic, which is going to shut everything down. And then from there, I'm going to go into the metaverse and build a cartoon comedy club in a pretend land and start to do comedy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, all in. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
It's weird how things turn out, though. Like we just can't predict the future, and you just have to keep moving forward in the best way you think you can at the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we have to keep learning, and we have to keep trying.
Well, that was super important. Like, I don't think anything else in life mattered at that time other than, getting yourself right.
Yeah. And fortunately, Renee had a good job at the time. So even though we lost about half of our household income, we were able to survive. Huge lifestyle adjustments. And that's okay to be able to make those lifestyle adjustments, but we were able to survive through that, and again that led to a season of starting to do comedy professionally, starting to produce comedy shows through Clean Comedy.
No, that was just pretty easy at that point then.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I decided, hey, you know what? I might as well pick a super easy industry like comedy and performance.
Yeah, where there's no drinking around or no temptations of any kind like that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Creating the identity and the brand of the unemployed alcoholic has been crucial in my sobriety because, I mean, as I'm performing comedy and in bars late at night, sobriety was so much a part of my identity that that it wasn't the same temptations weren't necessarily there because I was there specifically doing something different.
And that created a accountability within that.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's people literally all over the world that have a personal stake or emotional investment in my sobriety,
Yeah.
and so that's to me that seems like a good thing and a good
Right.
motivator.
And you know, at that point, looking back, I mean, you actually were able to help a lot of other people because you kind of led that recovery process for others. Um, and I just think that there's so many things that happened during that time. There's so much growth and so many roots that you kind of put in that you've since built on, that have grown out of that.
Yeah, undoubtedly, doing comedy was a secondary thing. The primary thing was adding value to those around me, and yeah, many great private conversations happened where people would share some of the things that they're going through, and we would be able to talk, and I would be able to encourage them, and also share some of the things that I'd experienced and some of the ways that I found healing and growth. So yeah, uh, that right there is where it's at. You know,
Yeah.
to have genuine personal connection and to be able to contribute to somebody's well-being and help them. If that's what's driving us, then everything else becomes very easy.
Well, I think out of that, was the blessings and the connections with all the people and the situations. I remember just coming to the Clean Comedy Time showcases, for instance. A lot of these you were challenging in a sense. A lot of these comedians that didn't always do clean comedy, and I forget exactly how it was put, but adult comedy, but without essentially,
Yeah, with Clean Comedy Time, we did clean comedy for adults.
yeah,
And yeah, things can be very funny, and they don't have to be insulting. They don't have to be mean. They don't have to be dirty. So yeah, that was the concept there. Was, hey, let's do comedy, but do comedy in a way that's not hurtful
and
to other people.
that was super. It really opened up to a new audience that isn't necessarily um, marketed to all that much in my from my perspective. And I just remember talking to some of those comedians after the shows, and they were like, they enjoyed the challenge
Yeah.
because it's sort of easy sometimes just to kind of go to the standards, but to try to clean up their acts, I think that really helped some of them as
Yeah.
well. Um,
Well, and that was a cornerstone of that business was we wanted to find funny comedians that could work clean.
yeah,
Because there's a whole lot of people out there that are clean comedians that aren't necessarily funny.
right.
And anybody can do that, and that's not what we were trying to do. We were trying to find funny people that could work clean. So consequently, many of the comedians that we worked with are very blue, oftentimes, and
Mhm.
now in the Soapstone, that has translated over, and the Soapstone is a clean comedy club.
Yep.
But many of the comedians that we work with do blue material. Blue is something that the industry calls when it contains curse word or R-rated
Mhm.
stuff, or potentially even X-rated stuff. It's that blue is the term that
Yeah.
for that.
Thanks for clarifying. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fine. People can say and do whatever they want. They just can't say or do whatever they want wherever they want.
Right. Right.
And if people are funny, then people are funny. And it doesn't degrade any of their blue material if they also can do clean material, which, by the way, almost all professional comedians can very much do clean comedy.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic because when you look at entry level comedy,
Mhm.
they're like, oh no, this is all it's got to be dirty, it's got to be this, and it's like, man, you realize that even the people that you're looking to that are doing blue comedy, the vast majority of money that's made in comedy, like almost all money that's made in comedy is made through clean comedy.
Interesting.
Yeah, and yeah, so yeah, it was really nice to be able to work with funny people that hadn't necessarily discovered clean comedy and open that up to them.
So you mentioned that COVID played a role in the start of the Soapstone. So tell us how that connection went from the Unemployed Alcoholic and Clean Comedy Time into the metaverse. Like, how did you find that opportunity.
Sure. Yeah. So it's interesting because most things that end up being great came from hardship.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And of course, the Unemployed Alcoholic came from addressing alcoholism and going through that recovery program. And then as I was able to build that out and create a brand in comedy and in comedic show production, COVID hit. And to tell you the truth, that was devastating. This new identity that I had just discovered and the way I was presenting myself literally became illegal.
Yeah.
To gather in group with groups of people and laugh together, it was illegal. And then it was like, okay, what do I do now? And actually, my wife Renee, she said, "Hey, maybe you should check out the metaverse." And I thought,
Renee?
yeah, put some goggles on and go pretend I'm in a faraway fake land. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But then I actually saw Mark Zuckerberg's keynote address with, at the time it was Facebook Connect. And this was the one where they announced that they were rebranding the company as Meta. And as he talked through that, and I realized what they were pouring into the metaverse, it struck me that this isn't something that's going to happen someday. This is something that's happening right now. And so between those two motivators, I decided, okay, I'm gonna get into the metaverse, and I chose Meta Horizon Worlds as the area to focus my energies on. And I went all in. I was able to get into the beta program. So I met some incredible world builders and incredible programmers that were part of that early beta. We built a place and launched it. And that those early adventures is what ultimately turned into the Soapstone Comedy Club. And this thing that's it's changing lives and doing huge things now, but it's also right on the verge of becoming a global phenomenon.
Yeah. And it started like I remember I was excited for you because you were kind of jumping in on what's essentially the ground floor. And they were such a, massive amount of money flowing into the development of this that, they've done a thing or two right over the years. They've made some mistakes as well, but great opportunity. So, because part of your introduction that I had for you there is world builder. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it's an interesting title, the world creator of the Soapstone. There's a lot that's involved in creating a virtual reality world, and there's a whole village of people. There's a whole team of people, dozens of people that are involved on a daily basis in making this place happen. But yeah, I'm the world creator, so I'm basically the guy who finds the folks that are passionate and talented and can play a specific role in the development of this community and bring them into the team and help position them or empower them for success.
So you're essentially, from my perspective, you're essentially general contracting to some extent, like the construction of this virtual building and all the systems that are in place. So you're also kind of the CEO of a company in a sense, and everything from moderation to the layout of how the Soapstone looks, to how the experience people have as they enter, to the experience the comedians have on the stage. Like there's a lot to it there, and then trying to pay for it or find a way to make it all work. That's kind of how I see it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'd say there's kind of four pillars of things that are involved with the Soapstone. One of which is you touched on is building. So we have a whole team of people, which is really held together by our partnership with Inspire Create Labs. And this is a metaverse building company.
Okay.
What they all do is they will 3D model and artistically design the spaces, and they'll also program the actions, like what happens in the world.
Okay.
Like, for instance, we have a force field around our stage. And when somebody signs up for 3 minutes, they get access to pass through that force field. So they
Okay.
get the stage to themselves. And then if somebody else tries to take the stage, they get teleported back to the back of the room. That's code. That's
Yeah.
a program that does that.
That's
So,
great.
so we have a team of people that do that. Also, if you look at the soapstone at Hanalei Bay, it's beautiful. And there are several different 3D modelers and artists that have come in and made contributions towards that aesthetic. So that's the build team. Then you've got the community, and we have a team of people that I call our leads. And there's 10 of us total that are on the lead team, and we are really responsible for leading the community. And from there, we've got CSMs, which is certified soapstone mentors, certified soapstone producers, and then contributors. And all together, there's hundreds and hundreds of people on those teams. But again, it's all about leading the community. Those three cornerstones of what the soapstone does. We encourage people towards the spotlight, we empower leaders, and we share what we're learning. So there's that. Then we also have like our show production or our experience production team, which includes marketing, it includes videography, it includes coding and preparing things. And that team comes together very, very well. And then we've got like the business end of things, where we've got our marketing professionals that we work with to make sure that we've got a good cadence for social media. We've got our legal team to make sure we're doing things the right way. We've got our accounting team to make sure we're checking the right boxes on the tax forms and all that stuff. So yeah, all of these different teams, I'm kind of leading, and the only way that I can do that is by finding the best people in the world at all those different things, and then totally empowering them and trusting them to do the right things.
That's awesome. It sounds like a huge undertaking, but it's a kind of a really interesting blend of real world and virtual world to make that all happen. So
it is, and again, the MBA background, the early on dreamings, the process of going through recovery. All of these things have folded together, I think, to prepare me to be able to help add value to other people around. And really thrive as a community through this opportunity.
I think that's a big takeaway for listeners or viewers, is like all that adversity, all of it stacks and all of it's over time. Even though you're going through a challenge at one particular time, generally you come out of that strengthened. The storm rolls through, drops some rain. It kind of sucks at the time, but then, it waters your future. And so, yeah, that's great. So you actually mentioned that the Soapstone is clean comedy. Tell us a little bit more about that and where, like maybe the origin of that and why you decided to go there.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned with Clean Comedy Time and the Unemployed Alcoholic, doing comedy that's not hurtful to people and actually can be helpful to people has been a cornerstone of what I've been doing. So it makes sense that entering into the metaverse, that I would carry that with me, and I did. But it became incredibly important, even more so important in the metaverse than any place else or any other platform, because there are people that are specifically there to hurt people. There are trolls,
Sure.
there are bullies, there are
On the
people.
internet?
Yeah,
In the
believe it or
metaverse?
not, on the internet, in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
There's
Really?
there's some folks that are pretty mean. And early on in the Soapstone, especially building a comedy club, in that you had a lot of people that were coming in and felt like they should be able to say blatantly racist things. People that were coming in and felt like they should be able to blatantly verbally abuse women. There are people that felt like they could come in and just be blatantly insulting to people because it's a joke. It's in the name of comedy. And so we had to draw a very, very clear line in the sand and say, that is not what we do here. And if you come here and do that, there will be consequences.
So how do you monitor that? Like, I mean, that seems like an almost impossible task.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very difficult task. But we have an incredible community of people that work together to try to uphold that standard. And also the platform Meta Horizon Worlds, there's tools that they provide to help moderate and to help take care of people that are breaking their community guidelines. So it's, I mean, I say it a lot in different capacities in the Soapstone, but it takes a village, and that's
social pressure and community.
Yeah, and also, there's a few people that will influence, and then there's a lot of people that will follow.
Sure.
And if you get a few people that are in there that are trying to influence it being gross and mean, then a lot of people in the room will follow that. But if you get people in there that want to influence it towards finding funny people that can be clean, then that's the direction it'll go. And that's what we've seen.
No, I think that's a big thing in life in general. It's like a few people can make a big influence, both positive or negative.
Absolutely.
And one of my most recent guests, same thing. It's like, and I don't think we often share that enough. The positivity can be, sometimes we're afraid to brag about something or kind of make a point or make an issue of it. And, but when we don't, we really are missing out on an opportunity to help somebody else and inspire somebody else.
Yeah. And we have an innate need for belonging.
Yeah.
And if somebody's up there saying you can belong to this group by being a prick, people are going to be pricks.
Sure.
And if you have people that are up there saying you can belong to this group by being a decent human being, people are going to be a decent human being.
Yeah.
It's leadership is so very important on how people act and how people treat others. And unfortunately, if you get a leader that's in place who's a prick and a prick to other people, you will see that cascade through the community, and it's horrendous, and it happens in a lot of different ways.
Yeah,
I know we probably don't want to get super political. But the reason we've been successful in the Soapstone is because we have leadership that's nice to people.
Yeah.
And that's a very important thing. And I think any application, it's very, very important to have leaders that are nice to people and aren't pricks.
For sure. And any aspect of life. So what's kind of next with the Soapstone? I see your shirt there.
Yeah. So we'll do a close up.
Close up. Can you zoom in on there?
Yeah. So we just on May 9th, we launched a brand new Soapstone.
Okay.
And it's the Soapstone at Hanalei Bay. And this is the first time that we've been able to actually model this virtual reality world after a real physical place. And it's been really, really exciting. Hanalei Bay is a bay that's on the northern shore of Kauai, an island in Hawaii. And it's one of the most serene and beautiful places on the planet. So we took it out of the planet and into virtual reality and kind of recreated that vibe, that feel. And it's been really well received by the community. People enjoy just spending time there, just communicating with people and that. So
can you, I know you can't without experiencing it, but what's it like? I mean, are there sights and sounds there that happen when you're in the thing, or you kind of wander around, you see palm trees?
So, I mean, the best way to comprehend it is definitely to get a headset and come in virtual reality and feel it. The second best is to go to soapstonecomedy.com, because right there on the top, there's a link where people can check it out and actually see and hear. But to describe it to you, It's you come in this little grass roof tiki hut
Okay.
that and you spawn in, and there's the ocean to your left and the club to your right, and there's palm trees and beautiful flowers. It's right on the bay, so there's ocean waves coming in. There's a couple sailboats that are out there. There's the very, very famous mountain ridge that surrounds Hanalei Bay.
Okay.
It's actually where Peter, Paul, and Mary wrote the song "Puff the Magic Dragon."
Oh yeah, man, I loved that as a kid.
Yeah, it's a great song, and they were on Hanalei Pier and looking around, and they noticed that the mountain ridge looks like a dragon.
Mhm.
It looks like a dragon with the head down by the water, and then you can see the arm, and you can see
Okay.
the back,
I
and
never knew that whole
everything.
that story. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is represented in the soapstone as well, and it's really cool.
Awesome. So, anything else we should cover here before?
Yeah, the thing that you ask what's next and
Yeah.
what am I most excited about with
Yeah.
the soapstone. Virtual reality, the superpower of virtual reality is to make experiences accessible. Like Jay Farrow performing comedy,
Mhm.
to come into an environment and enjoy him performing comedy and be there with 25 of your closest friends, like that's not an experience that's easily accessible, but
Yeah.
it is in virtual reality. But having performance and having the ability to produce experiences and those things, continuing to make that accessible to large numbers of people is what I'm very, very excited about.
Yeah, and that's the thing I was excited about for you. So, like, you take it from, your clean comedy time was sort of a local and regional thing, and then the soapstone is just worldwide. The potential is amazing. One thing, is there a cost? So you got somebody like Jay coming in. Is there a cost to that, to viewers?
Certainly. I mean, he's a professional,
Yeah.
and professional comedians, celebrity comedians, it costs money
Yeah.
to have them come perform. We've been real fortunate in that Meta Horizon Worlds and their entertainment team really likes who we are and what we do. So we've been able to collaborate with them and make some things possible that certainly wouldn't be possible without them.
Yeah, so this is sort of like, it's kind of an exclusive venue. Like, you really can't do this anywhere else other than the metaverse.
Yeah. There's several comedy. Comedy is big in the metaverse, and there's several comedy venues.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing exactly what we're doing. There's nobody else that's doing exactly what we're doing, how we're doing it. So,
Nice.
yeah, so it's funny. It's accessible,
Yeah.
and it is also exclusive.
Right. You say accessible because I think, first thing I go to is selling real estate is, oh, hey, anybody can do it, whether they can move or not, which is actually kind of true. So it's not like you have to drive on down to some location, climb the stairs and do all that. You can do that from the comfort of your own house.
That's right. Yeah.
And still interact virtually with other
Yeah.
people.
And again, that's everybody who's involved in the experience can do it from the comfort of their own home. And that includes superstar comedians can put a headset on and perform instead of jumping on an airplane, flying out to a venue, staying in a hotel that isn't their home and all that. So it's an accessible stage to them. The audience, like you said, to put on a headset and come in and be there. That's awesome. But we have a team of people that work to produce these shows, and everybody can do it from the comfort of their own home.
Awesome. Cool. Look forward to hopping on myself again, catching one of these, catching back in. I haven't, it's been a while.
Cool.
Anything else we want to cover? Best way to find you, or is there something else you want to chat about here? I'll reset that. But
Okay. Yeah, so the best way for people to find me is through either soapstonecomedy.com if they're more interested in the metaverse stuff, or if more on my backstory, the unemployedalcoholic.com. There's stuff about me there.
So before we go to one more thing, is there anything you want to rewind on that? Like the Unemployed Alcoholic? Are you currently doing any IRL events in real life for those few of us that may not know that?
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is very, very important is to stay focused on things. And so during this past season of time, I really haven't been performing much stand-up comedy. I've done a couple things, but it hasn't been the primary focus. And to tell you the truth, in order to do good stand-up comedy, it takes a lot of focus, it takes a lot of effort and energy and practice and time.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of the stand-up comedy has kind of been put on the back burner for a little while. I'm certain that at some point I'm gonna get that bug, and I'm gonna be like, okay, it's time to produce a special. It's time to write another 20 or 40 minutes of comedy and hone it and perfect it. And when that desire hits, when that bug hits, I've got ways to scratch that itch, so I'll do it. But
Plenty ways.
yeah. But for now, it's my efforts are focused on building the experience in the Soapstone. My efforts are focused on building the community within the Soapstone. My focus is really on the three things that are the core of the Soapstone, which is encouraging people to their spotlight, empowering leaders, and sharing what we're learning.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. Thanks for joining us. Everybody check out Aaron at the unemployedalcoholic.com or
soapstonecomedy.com.
Hey guys, Eldon here. Thanks again for joining us for this episode. We're all the way up to 12 episodes at this point, and we really appreciate our guests coming on. We really appreciate even more your viewership and listenership, and that you share this with friends and family. We'd like to make a quick ask here. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you find your podcasts. That would be wonderful. On YouTube, if you'd like to get more of this content, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and maybe give it a thumbs up, and, share it with a friend. So we appreciate your efforts in helping us grow and helping West Michigan grow. And actually, every time you share, every time you thumbs up, every time you leave a comment, it really helps the guest as well. Help support your neighbors, and we really look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you. Take care.
They tell me that I'm never gonna make it.